ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Salvaggio, you just told the jury I beat up Mr. Brown to get that 10% answer, right? That's what you said. You told him I beat him up.
No.
I beat it out of him.
No, I didn't. What I said is he was.
All right, can I continue here?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Hidell, based on conversations we've had at the bench, we've made a fine record, I think. So we understand you need to get out of here. We've taken up almost all your time before you have to get out of here at the bench. And we've resolved the issues accordingly, so I have no further questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Council may have some questions.
I will just say it's nice to see you again, and we had a nice, pleasant conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, jury. Mr. O'Shea this morning.
No problem. No questions.
Sir, thank you for coming.
Please watch your step as you descend. He'll take care of the elderly. Is what's Thank you.
Good trip.
Thanks, sir.
All right. And I guess we're going to continue on with.
That was the one that had to be taken out of turn, so Mr. Salvaggio is still on the stand with regard to Mr. Parker's questioning.
Mr. Parker, sir. Should we ask if anybody needs a break? You're probably right. I don't need a break. I understand that. The only, I'll be candid, I'm more concerned about this jury than anybody else. Are we good, or do we want to take?
Very good, sir.
Very good, sir.
There you go. So we're going to bring Mr. Salvaggio back, Mr. Parker. And we do have questions. Did I pass questions to all the lawyers, right? Yes,
Yes.
Yes, wanted to make sure. All right, so you do understand you're still under oath?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's Rob's.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Mr. Salvaggio, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good, Mr. Parker. Thank you.
So I only have a few questions for you, Mr. Salvaggio. I took a lot of your time when we met on Tuesday. Mr. Salvaggio, one thing struck me as odd when we left off, and I didn't have a chance to really go through it. When we left off, we were talking about the justification for using selling points to misrepresent the capabilities of your Fort meter. Remember that conversation?
So Jack is to the word misrepresentation, I think it's just not the appropriate word. We're not here on a fraud case.
What was the question? I want to make sure.
Sure. I was actually setting the stage for a continuation of the line of questioning I left off on Tuesday. The question was, I wanted to have a clear understanding on the justification for using selling points, which is the words used by Mr. Jason Brown, to misrepresent the capabilities of the MW500 Fort meter, which he said at least 3 times, I believe I played it on the screen, selling points. These were selling points to sell that meter. Remember that, or do I need to replay it for you?
I remember you speaking of Mr. excuse me, Jason Brown using the concept, the terminology that you've chosen calls that he said selling points, yes.
Would you like me to play it over again so you can hear it from his own words?
No.
You recall him using his words, correct? All right. And I asked you about that, and I think when you left off, you said it was an indirect lie. Do you remember that? Remember using that word? Perhaps the jury remembers it, but do you remember?
I don't remember saying it was an indirect lie. I'm not sure what you're meaning when you ask that question, sir.
Okay.
Because
Is there-
wouldn't consider it lying to use selling points.
Okay, so if your product actually has 10% defective probes, and your number 2 guy in North Carolina at Milwaukee says that I have tons of Kangen alkaline water purchasers, this is best on the market, you don't consider that a misrepresentation?
Well, the word terms tons is a relative perspective. Like McDonald's sells tons of hamburgers, right? Someone might use that word to say a ton of bricks. It's an expression. I don't necessarily agree with Mr. Chase Brown's statement about 10% failure because he wasn't prepared to answer to it after being in the hospital for so long and wasn't asked to speak to it. He was in the hospital for 2.5 months in a coma. He was 3 days back. We asked for an extension for his deposition. It wasn't granted. And no one asked for that specific number. He was asked 3 times by Mr. Kemp to give him that 10%. He said he didn't know. Mr. Kemp suggested to him, could it be 10%? And Jason just said, yeah. So it was like putting words in his mouth. He had already said 3 times he didn't know. He was tired.
Was it similar did I put words in your mouth when you told this jury that you used that ORC meter to help test your girlfriend's pool, and then I pull up your deposition and it says you never use an ORC meter? Did I put words in your mouth when that happened?
I did it this summer. No, you didn't.
Okay. And conversely, Mr. Kemp can't force Mr. Brown to lie, could he?
He can't force him to lie, but he answered 3 times the question and he kept on pushing him. And he was tired.
Were you at
Third
that
day
deposition?
work, back to work.
I'm sorry, were you at that deposition?
Sorry?
Were you at Mr. Brown's deposition?
No, sir, but I saw him on the screen. It's easy to tell he was tired,
I don't know, we saw him on the screen too. So.
in my opinion.
All
Sorry.
right, so you're blaming him misrepresenting himself because he'd been out of the hospital and because he was tired.
I don't think he
That's why you lied.
misrepresented himself.
So what is it? Is it true that your 10% of your probes are defective or not?
I answered that the other day.
You don't know the truth, is it?
I said it was about 0.001 that we had calculated.
So then Mr. Brown was lying.
It wasn't lying.
He was just wrong.
It was an incorrect statement based on 3 times answering the question that he didn't know. And then someone suggesting an answer to it.
Would Mr. Brown be wrong if he said that 1/3 to 1/4 of your customers for the MW500 ORC meter are alkaline or Kangen water customers? Would that also be wrong, or was he sleepy or tired when you made that statement?
Well, we sell the MW500 into a lot of different markets, as I explained the other day. The schools buy them, pools buy them, Kangen waters buy them. We don't control who orders them. I'm not sure the exact percentage of schools to pools to other markets.
All right, so if Mr. Brown testified under oath that somewhere between 1/3 to a fourth of your MW 500 meter market is related to canyon water and alkaline water. Would you disagree or would you agree with that?
I have to do more research to get the exact number. We sell through distribution as well, and many of our distributors sell on Amazon, so we don't know exactly where they go.
So you wouldn't dispute it at this point, correct?
I'm sorry?
You would not dispute that, correct?
I don't. I'd have to do more research.
You know, let me explain Mr. Jason Brown's testimony on this topic. Shane, can you put that on the screen for me, please?
Do you know why we're not getting any audio?
No, you should. Volume's fine.
We'll try this again, Mrs. Sabagi.
Okay.
I'm not sure why we're not getting audio through the court system.
Let me do one more. Hold on. Can you try that?
Approximately a fourth to
Okay, back it up a little bit.
Mhm.
You have the full question, Shane.
so approximately a fourth to a third of the MW 500s are sold from Kangen water market. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So approximately a fourth to a third of these meters would be used to measure negative ore, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, oh, go ahead, Shane, I'm sorry.
Okay, going to 14. Admit that you knew in 2020 or before that ore meters that you were selling after 2011 were being used by some purchasers in the process of making alkaline water, unquote.
Yes.
And you knew that too, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you had tons of Kangen water customers using your term, right?
Yes.
So, you've heard his testimony.
I do.
And in terms of the interrogatories, you reviewed those interrogatories before those were signed. Is that correct? Are you familiar with interrogatories, sir?
No, sir.
You know, and I believe we have an agreement on the interrogatories. If I'm not correct on that, then I'll go through the process of laying a foundation for it. But I'd like to have Hanna Instruments' first supplemental answers to plaintiff's first set of interrogatories admitted as Exhibit 757, if there's no objection.
Verification page, so fast. No objection.
You want to see it?
Just the verification page?
Well, I'm putting the whole thing in.
Well, I think
Oh,
We
you
made
did.
it.
it has been, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's been taken care of.
okay.
Okay.
No objection.
All right. Your Honor, may I approach?
Yeah, shall be admitted.
Thank you. Your Honor. Is that your signature?
Please.
Shane, can you put Exhibit 757 on the screen, please? And let's just start with the last page, 16 of Exhibit 757. So that's your signature, sir?
Yes, it is.
And that's a verification page. Are you familiar with a verification page?
The exact term, sir, I'm not legally understanding, but
Well, the last paragraph right above your signature says, I declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Nevada that the foregoing is true and correct. You see that?
yes, sir.
And it's dated October 14, 2022, correct?
Yes.
And this is before Mr. Brown's deposition, correct?
I think it was before, yes,
Couple
because he
months.
was deposed in,
February.
yes.
All right. Now, in terms of your ORC meter, sir, we had testimonies a few moments ago that your ORC meter is being used by a third to a fourth of your market for purposes of Kangen water or alkaline water. You familiar with that?
I'm familiar with Kangen water and alkaline water.
In your experience, typically where is Kangen and alkaline water made?
Where is it made?
Yeah.
In bottling processes, or sometimes it was such as real water at a bottling process. And in these other machines that are, people are using, or buying and using.
Right at home. Correct?
People are using them at home, and real water is producing in their factory.
Right. But you're aware, and I think this was discussed during the opening by your attorney, that these Kangen water machines are being used at home in households, correct?
Yes, Kangen was being used at home in households, and real water is being produced in a company and bottled.
Right. And then at home, you'd agree with me, these homes aren't laboratories, correct? This is my house, or Mr. Kemp's house, Mr. Odou's house, Mr. Rasmussen's house, just homes, correct?
Some are homes and some may be other types of businesses, I don't know.
All right. Now, the warning on this box, and I believe this is exhibit now 7. I think we have a new exhibit number for the picture of this warning. What is that exhibit number, Mr.?
7180.
78.
No, 7180.
7180, is that correct?
The box is 374. The picture of that is 7180.
7180. So can we bring the picture up? Shane, do you have it? Perfect. Thank you. Now this box says, and you can see it on the screen, that's where the warning says, the enclosed product is intended for use by persons knowledgeable in safe laboratory practice. See that?
Yes,
And yet these are being sold to mothers and fathers, just regular people to use at their home, correct?
some people might be buying them for that purpose, but not real water. They were using it to produce water that unfortunately had hydrazine in it. And the meter does not measure for hydrazine.
Objection,
And
move to strike. I'll sustain, strike the response.
I didn't say anything, and I appreciate what Mr. Odou just objected to. Again, I'm trying to ask a very focused question, Mr. Salvaggio. You can keep your response to the question. Okay? All right. Now, let's take a look at this warning. May I approach you?
Yes, you may.
Right, don't move it, Shane. Keep it right there. Bingo. Do you see any exceptions for real water in this warning?
no, sir.
Do you see any exceptions there for mothers and fathers or household practices in this warning? Anything that distinguishes between real water and any other person who would buy this product?
Well, the person's knowledgeable in safe laboratory practice.
But you knew that 30 to 40% or a fourth of your customers were buying this to make water right at home.
We
Isn't that
can't-
correct?
But we're unable to prevent them from buying it for use at home.
Sure, you could just not sell it to them. Right?
We sell through distribution most of the time.
Sir, you're selling because you want to make money. That's what you're doing, correct? I think Mr. Brown said we want to get product out the door. That's why you're selling it, correct?
Well, we're selling it for people to use, and during the use and the selling process, we hope to make a profit, otherwise we wouldn't have employment for people in the world.
Does it say anything here about don't buy this product if you're making Kangen or alkaline water at home? Does it say that there? You see that?
Should it?
No, it doesn't. That's a
No,
yes or
oh,
no
no,
question.
sir.
All right. Is there a warning that says real water? You can't use this if you're not a chemist.
It says persons hopefully knowledgeable in safe laboratory practice.
Any definition of what that means in this warning?
People knowledgeable in safe laboratory practice, you have to have a definition of that?
Yeah, is there a definition of that?
Do you need one?
Well, if there's a possible consequence of someone getting acute liver failure or dying from the use of this product, yeah, you probably need one.
I think that's self-evident.
Is there a definition, sir, of what a person knowledgeable in safe laboratory practices means on this box? Yes or no?
I think it means what it means.
Sir, I just asked, is there a definition?
I've answered you.
Is there? Yes or no?
Yes or no? Answer the questions.
Can you repeat it?
Yes. Is there a definition of knowledgeable in safe laboratory practices on this box anywhere?
No.
How about in the instructions manual?
No, sir.
That's right. And so you sold products, a third to a fourth of your product sales, somewhere around 18,000 of these a year, to people you knew were not in laboratory, correct?
I didn't know they were not in laboratories because we sell many through Amazon, or we sell many through our distribution centers. Many meters through those centers. And they could be going to pools, they could be going to schools. So I don't know where they end up, but they're sold.
Now, would you also agree that in addition to not having a definition of what knowledgeable safe laboratory practices means, there's nothing in there that actually tells you the consequence of not being knowledgeable in safe laboratory practice, is it? Not on that box, is it?
There's not a statement on the box that says that, so.
Going back to your interrogatories, I just want to make sure we're clear on this company. Could you go to page 6 of the interrogatories, Shane? Again, this is 757, page 6. So interrogatory number 2 says, it actually starts on page 5. For the subject meter, which we're speaking about the MW500, state the following. And there's subparagraphs A through, go to page 5, Shane. All right, here we go. So that's the question. Interrogatory number 2, which is simply a question that one party sends to another party so that the other party can respond. It's a way of streamlining the stuff. So it says here, for the subject meter, state the following. And I'm assuming you read these interrogatory questions, correct? Before you signed it.
Well, I've never been through the process before, so to understand everything it meant at the time was a little bit difficult. But we did our best and read through that, sir.
All right. And you recall there being definitions that could help you understand what interrogatories are about, right?
I don't recall, but maybe they're in there.
Okay, good. And so in response to this interrogatory, you have this answer that starts on page 6. So we go to page 6. Line 20. This is where the answer really starts. So this is what you say. Hanna Instruments, a Rhode Island corporation, distributes Hanna ORP meters distributed by Hanna Instruments SRL in the United States. Is that true?
Hanna Instruments Inc., a Rhode Island corporation, distributes ORP meters distributed by SRL in the United States. Hanna Instruments Inc. is a Rhode Island corporation, that's true. Distributes Hanna ORP meters by Hanna Instruments SRL. Well, SRL sells them to Hanna Instruments Inc., and then Hanna Instruments Inc. sells them.
Okay, then it says, Hanna Instruments SRL also distributes Milwaukee ORP meters to Hanna Instruments Inc., who then distributes Milwaukee ORP meters to Milwaukee Instruments Inc. Is that true?
Hanna SRL also distributes Milwaukee ORP meters to Hanna. That's true. Who then distributes Milwaukee ORP meters Here is SRL, was to Hanna Instruments Inc., that's true, who then distributes Milwaukee units to Milwaukee. Well, they distribute it to, the Hanna Instruments Inc. sells it to Milwaukee, yes.
Who then distributes Milwaukee ORP meters to Milwaukee Instruments. Is that correct?
Hanna Instruments SRL, overseas, I think, distributes to Hanna Instruments Inc., United States, Rhode Island, and then they in turn sell them to Milwaukee.
And then it says, Hanna Instruments SRL purchases materials and supplies these materials for the manufacturing of the subject meter. Is that true?
Hanna Instruments Inc. sources, so the company in Rhode Island buys raw materials from all over the world, and then we ship them out to the overseas facilities. That's what that means.
So is that a true statement?
Yes, sir.
Then it says the Milwaukee MW500 ORP meter and provides these materials to dosing pump unit. Is that a different company too?
That's the production company, sir, yeah.
And that's also owned by Hanna,
Is it?
dosing pump.
It's in the umbrella.
That's right. There we go. And then it says SRL Romania, which is the entity that assembles the Milwaukee ORP MW500 meter from materials it is provided from Hanna Instruments SRL. Is that true?
Let me go over that real quick in my head and reread it.
Go right ahead.
Romania, which is, that is true. There's a company called DP that produces the unit and then provides it back to a different company over there, I guess, called SRL, and they sell it to the United States.
And that SRL is, again, a Hanna company.
It's under the umbrella. I'm not privy to everything and how it works, but that's the general premise of how it works.
Right, because it's Hanna Instruments SRL, correct?
It's an overseas company, sir. Yeah.
That's the name of it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Then it says, defendant is searching for information concerning the design with respect to the MW500 meter. Are you familiar with that? Did you ever figure out what the design was that you were searching for?
Well, I don't know exactly what it refers to.
That's, design is not a issue in this case.
It's not for purposes of the design, it's for purposes of when this thing's all put together, including eventually the warnings that go into the box.
Again, this particular thing has to do with design. Design is not an issue in this case.
Join. We're good. And so we'll continue.
Thank you so much. So that last sentence, correct, sir, it says defendant is searching, defendant being Hanna, is searching for information concerning the design with respect to MW500 meter. Then it gives a long number there.
Well, the sentence correct, it states that. I don't know what it's related to. It must be related to a question that's inside of the, what do they call these?
Interrogatory.
Interrogatories. So maybe there's a question and they're asking about the concept of design for a specific meter with that specific, and we didn't have it right away, so that must have been the answer.
All right. But that still would have been in-house. That's Hanna, correct?
It would have been not in Rhode Island, it would have been not Hanna Instruments Inc., it would have been an overseas company.
A Hanna overseas company.
Hanna overseas.
So your R&D section of Hanna.
That's correct, sir.
All right. In Romania.
In Romania, yeah.
All right. And then the next sentence says, the original design of ORP meters was likely sometime in the late 1980s to the early 1990s. There is some difficulty because of the change in computer software now being used by Hanna Instruments SRL. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what it says.
So is it fair to say that between all of these companies that are identified in this answer to this interrogatory, that every facet of this meter, be it the component parts, the assembly of it, the warnings on the box, the tip card inside of it, the owner's manual, that all comes under these Hanna entities that are identified in this answer in our auditory.
No.
What part is not true?
The tip card is, you referred to the tip card. The tip card is placed into the box in North Carolina at the company Milwaukee Instruments.
Still under the Hanna umbrella, correct?
It's an independent company with an independent tax ID number. It is structurally, it must go back to something. I can't speak to the actual structure.
All right, you're the president of Milwaukee. You can't speak to the structure, is what you're saying?
I can't speak to the Hanna structure.
You're also the vice president of operations of Hanna, correct?
The operations, as I defined and spoke of yesterday, is facilities management. I'm not in the finance area. I am not in the structure area. I'm not any tax attorney or CPA accountant.
Right, and I believe you testified on Tuesday that Mr. Dupree right here, I think Michael Dupree, is the controller for both Milwaukee and the Hanna entities, correct?
I don't recall saying he was part of the Milwaukee controller. We have an independent accounting team out of North Carolina who reviews all our books and creates the financial statements.
For all the Hanna entities, correct?
No, that's not correct. They only produce them for the North Carolina company.
Let's get to the bottom line. Isn't it true that the Nardo family owns the entire Hanna umbrella?
I don't know what their percent is in share and ownership and how it's structured, so I can't really speak to if they are 100% the owners. They're at the very top of the pyramid.
I believe that there's been testimony, sir, that between the Nardos and the Nardos companies, they own all of the Hanna umbrella. Is that not true?
They're at the top of the umbrella. I don't know how the structure is made.
And is it fair to say, Mr. Salvaggio, that the tip card that you're speaking of is placed in the box by Milwaukee, correct?
That's correct.
The box itself, the warnings on the box, the meter itself, that's all done by Hanna companies, correct?
It's done by a company overseas. DP is the production company, I think. And then this exchange of things that we just spoke of.
Owned all by Hanna companies, correct?
It's a Hanna company.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Any objection to this?
The board before. No objection. Mention Rob. No objection.
Thank you. Tori, I'd like to put on, Your Honor, I'd like to have admitted Exhibit 791. I'm giving a copy to Ms. Tori there.
No objection.
Mr. Parker, you said this is for a Hanna's exhibit?
No, this is Plaintiff 791.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, so then.
Thank you. Shane, can you put 791 on the screen, please? And this is a scaled-down version of your organizational chart, is that correct?
It seems. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I did recall.
Okay, you know all the companies represented on this organizational chart, correct?
I'm familiar with the company names of the SRL. I'm familiar with Milwaukee. I'm familiar with Hanna Instruments, Inc. I'm familiar with Dosing Pump. I'm familiar with SRL on this side. SID and US and SID International, I've heard the term. I don't know what it means in the bigger picture.
Yes, sir. May I approach?
Yes, you may.
So when I was asking you simply to confirm that this company was owned by the Nardos family, at the top it says shareholders. Isn't it true that the Nardo family are the shareholders?
That's true, sir.
All right. So for the last 8 minutes, when I've asked you this question, you've told me that you did not know.
I said I don't know the structure of the share amounts between everyone.
But at the end of the day, no matter how the share amounts work out, one Nardo having 50%, another one having 30%, the Nardo family are the shareholders for every Hanna entity that you're aware of, correct?
Can you
Correct?
repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yes, for every Hanna entity that you're aware of, be it SID International, Hanna Instruments Inc., Milwaukee, Hanna Instruments SRL, Hanna Instruments Romania SRL, a dosing pump unit SRL, they're all owned by that one family, correct?
Yeah, it comes back to the top of the pyramid and the NATOs, whatever percentage is there.
And those 60 locations in 47 countries, that's that umbrella, correct?
If it is 60 and 40, it comes under that umbrella.
That's right. The 121 entities under that umbrella, correct?
Yes, like many companies.
Right. Mr. Savaggio, is there any justification for misrepresenting a product to a customer, to a jury, to our real water, to anyone? Is there any justification that can be given for misrepresenting the capabilities of your product?
Is there any justification for providing I don't think we misrepresent.
Was that?
I don't think we misrepresent the
I didn't, that's not the question, sir.
Oh,
Is there any justification? The selling point, I'll be more direct with you. Is a selling point a justification
for
not being honest, for not telling the truth, for indirectly lying?
for any company in I think any company in any world should not falsify a selling point. Yes, correct. Why would you do that?
Why did it take so long for you to answer the question, Mr.
Well, I'm
Savaggio?
trying to understand where you were going. This is my first time ever sitting in a seat second time. And,
So let me ask it this way. Does sitting in that seat make it more difficult for you to simply answer the question?
well, it makes it a little confusing and things, so I'm just trying to understand what you're asking and provide an answer.
Well, I'm just looking for trying to figure out the excuses. You told me once that Jason Brown perhaps didn't tell the truth or was incorrect because he just got out of the hospital a week or so before. That's what you told me, correct?
What I said is that Mr. Brown had just gotten out of the hospital, had not been able to prepare information, specific information, didn't do any specific information research. He had answered the question I've said this a couple of times, answered the question 3 times to Mr. Kemp. 3 times. And Mr. Kemp continued and then suggested an amount. And finally, Mr. Brown said, yes, 10%.
Sir, I really am trying to ask yes and no questions at this point so we can finish up. The first excuse you gave for Mr. Brown being dishonest was he just got out of the hospital. Is that correct?
I don't think he was dishonest.
If he was, is that an excuse? Being out of the hospital for not giving correct information?
If he was confused due to that, nobody should give incorrect information.
Okay, so now we've gone from the hospital to tired to confused. So you believe he was confused when he gave his information on the percentage of defective probes. That question was confusing to him, in your opinion.
You're mixing words, but what I'm trying to explain, and I've said a couple of times, is that he answered 3 times the question. And at the 4th time, at the suggestion of someone giving him a percentage, he just said yes. He was not prepared. We asked for a delay. We're not granted it. No one asked him specifically to prepare that information to come up with that number. After the 4th time, he just said yes. And apparently looking at him, he looked a little tired and he's unprepared.
So you have to be prepared to tell the truth, is what you're saying. I just want to make sure I get all the excuses.
That's not what I'm saying, sir.
That's what you just said to this jury.
That's not what
He
I
was
said.
unprepared, and that's why he lied.
He didn't lie.
Okay, so is being unprepared an excuse for them not telling the truth? Let me ask you that.
Can you rephrase that? I'm sorry.
Sir, you've given me an excuse of him just coming out the hospital or just getting back to the office. And let me address that right up front. If he's in the office, if you're allowing him to work in the office, then he should be also in a condition to answer questions truthfully, correct? You wouldn't have him in the office if he wasn't able to be in the office, medically cleared to be in the office, correct?
The doctor said he could go back to the office,
All right.
but he was still in physical therapy. When he first got out, he couldn't even walk. He had to learn to re-walk. And that was in January. All through January, he's still going to physical therapy. He was physically a little bit tired at times. So,
So he was able to work, but not able to tell the truth. Able to work, but not able to be prepared.
I don't think he
Able to
lied.
work, but too tired.
Again, I don't think he lied, and I answered that.
Okay.
I don't believe he lied.
Are any of those, in your opinion, justification for not being honest?
I don't think Mr. Brown was dishonest.
And let me ask you this, since I can't get a yes or no to that question. When you came here on Tuesday and sat down, were you tired?
I hadn't slept well the night before thinking about this process.
Had you just gotten out of the hospital?
Me?
Yeah.
No, sir.
Were you prepared?
I was reasonably prepared as best as I could.
So if any of the answers you gave me on Tuesday were wrong and not honest, you got no excuse, other than being a little tired, correct?
Other than tired, did you say dishonest?
I said, if you were dishonest, like, using for an example, when you told us that you actually tested these different recommendations on conditioning the probe, and then we pull out your deposition, and you said no tests were done. Were you unprepared when you came here on Tuesday? Did you just get out the hospital? Were you confused? I mean, tell me what justification you have for not telling the truth on Tuesday.
Okay, Hanna Instruments, as I was talking to, did not do any testing. But no, I wasn't any of those. I'm sorry.
All right. Which means you had no justification if you misrepresented yourself, correct? Correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Sean.
Your Honor, for Mr. Kemp, again, I'm going to put an objection. We have now got two different lawyers from the plaintiff's side that are going to be asking questions. Mr. Parker could have done this all for whatever questions that Mr. Kemp was going to ask. I understand that Mr. Kemp has his own clients in this thing, but I don't believe there's a justification for continuing with this when it could have all been done with one particular, by one firm here on behalf of the plaintiffs. This is two bites of the apple the same. There's no reason to have two witnesses, two different plaintiff attorneys doing this. We don't do that over here.
This has been the practice the entire case. This was discussed during the pre-trial. I'm surprised he's trying to cut off into questions. Ultimately, you represent different clients.
Okay.
And if you represent different clients, you have a right to ask questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate that.
I'll be brief. I don't think this will be more than 10 minutes maybe. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Salvaggio, you just told the jury I beat up Mr. Brown to get that 10% answer, right? That's what you said. You told him I beat him up.
No.
I beat it out of him.
No, I didn't. What I said is he was asked 3 times.
Well, let me say,
He gave you,
I have your
he answered
words. I
3
wrote them
times.
down
And
exactly.
on the 4th time, you suggested a number, and he accepted it.
Okay, so you said to the jury that I suggested an answer, right?
I said you
Is that what
suggested
you
a
said
number.
earlier? Okay, you said to the jury that I put words into his mouth. Remember saying that?
Well, it's almost like doing that.
You said that.
Okay.
And then you told the jury that I suggested an amount. Remember that? I suggested the 10%. That's what you told this jury.
If I read the questioning the other day came up, you asked him, so was it 10%? Was it a
And
great
then you
amount?
said, at the suggestion of someone that gave the percentage, you told the jury that I gave that man the 10%. That's what you told this jury.
I said that in the questioning, after three times, he said you didn't have that answer. In the questioning around the fourth, you had suggested a number. Is it 10%? Is it some other number? I don't know, I'm
You wanna stick-
paraphrasing
you
a
wanna
little
stick
bit,
with
I'm
that version of
paraphrasing
events?
a little bit,
You wanna
but that's
stick-
about what you said.
Okay, let's see what actually happened. Shane, can you play Jason Brown 9013 to 9113, please?
So there were cases where Milwaukee determined that a probe was defective, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how often did that happen?
Not very often.
Okay, can you quantify that a little better for me?
Not really. I mean,
1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000, what?
I'd say maybe 10 out of 100.
Stop, Shane.
So 10 out,
So this is where I beat it out of him. I beat the 10 out of 100, the 10% out of him. That's your testimony, sir?
Well,
Did I beat it out of him?
He had
Did he
answered,
volunteer?
he had answered previously, didn't know, and you had.
Back it up,
asked
Shane.
him
Let's
the
play
question.
it one more time for the witness.
Not really. I mean,
1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000, what?
I'd say
Stop. I gave him two options, 1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000. He didn't take either one of those options, did he, sir?
Well,
Did he take either one of those options?
1 out of 100.
Did he take
1,000, that's
either
a
one of
percent.
those
It's
options?
around 10%, right?
1 out of 100 is around 10%.
Or 1 out of
That's
1,000. I have to do the math quick, but.
1 out of 100 is 10%. That's what you're telling the jury now? That's what you're telling the jury?
No, I'd have
Okay.
to do the math quick, sorry.
Here, well, I'll do it for you. 1 out of 100 is 1%.
That's right.
Okay, so I didn't suggest 10%, did I? Did I? Did I suggest 10% to the witness?
The actual number, no, but.
Okay, and 1 out of 1,000, what's that? That's not 10%, is it? Is it?
What is the percent?
Is it?
I'm not sure, I had to quickly calculate it.
Go ahead.
I'd have to calculate it
0.1%,
real quick.
right? Right? Right?
But yeah, sounds about right.
Okay, and then he says 10 out of 100, correct?
He did.
So
After-
he
after
came up
already
with this
saying
number,
not really,
he came
I
up
mean,
with the number 10 out of 100,
Okay,
right?
he did.
So
but
he
already
came
said-
up with the 10%, right?
He already said not really, I mean, and then you came back and said, what, 1 out of 100, 1 out of
So
1,000?
when you-
And that's when he said 10%.
When you told this jury that I put that word into his mouth, the 10%, that was not true, was it?
I was paraphrasing in amounts, you know.
That was not true, was it?
You said 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000. That's
I
true.
didn't say 10%. What you told the jury wasn't true, was it?
Well, that's correct technically, yes, it is.
So technically, you just lied to this jury.
I didn't mean to, I mean, I didn't do the math quick, but 1 out of 100, he initially said, not really, I mean. You came back and said
You
1 out of
didn't do the
100,
math
1,000.
You had read this before and told the jury that I made up the 10%. You told them that repeatedly when Mr. Parker was asking you questions,
Objection
over and
answered.
over again.
We've gone over this.
That's just-
Thank you.
All right, let's move to another area, Mr. Spaccio. You recognize this document, right?
Yes, sir.
This is the user manual.
Yes, sir.
This is it. There's no more. This is the only user manual that was provided for the MW500, right?
There was an insert provided, which was instructional too.
Okay, the insert is not a user manual, is it? Is it?
It can be used as one.
Is it titled user manual?
I'm sorry?
Is it titled user manual? Is
It
the
is not.
insert
It
titled?
is not titled user manual.
And what is this title?
It says user manual.
All right. Now, you told Mr. Parker that you knew 1/3 of the people were using the ORC meter to take negative ORC readings, correct?
I didn't say that, Mr. Brown said that. Then.
Okay. I thought you eventually accepted that. You don't know one way or the other?
What I eventually said is I'd have to understand it more by actually looking at the data. I didn't look at the data, and I don't think Mr. Brown did either.
So prior to coming here to testify today, you didn't look at the data?
No, I didn't sit down and calculate, is it 1/3? I didn't do that.
But you knew before you came here today that Mr. Brown had testified that 1/3 of the people using the meter were using it to take negative or readings of alkaline water. You knew that.
I knew he had said that, yes.
So let me make sure I understand your position. Are you accepting that, or are you disputing that figure?
I'm saying I don't know because I haven't researched the data.
Okay, so Mr. Brown could be right.
Anything could be, it's a possibility. It's, yes.
This
Could
is
be wrong, too.
this is your employee, and that's his sworn testimony.
He could be right, it could have been wrong.
Okay. Let's assume he's right.
Okay.
And you will agree you took the conditioning kit off the market in June 2017, right?
Thereabouts, yes, sir.
Okay. And that's because it was toxic, caused cancer? so-
Objection, Your Honor, that evidence has not been put into, this is a leading question at this point. There's been no evidence on this whatsoever.
Your Honor, I'm entitled to ask this question. The conditioning kit was taken off the market because it was toxic, correct?
I was understanding that the kit was removed for a reason due to a European regulation.
Because they found out it was toxic and it caused cancer, right?
I don't know the actual reason first, and I don't know if it was due to a transportation regulation or if it was due to another kind of regulation, and they're different.
Did you look at Mr. Petrin's deposition?
I didn't review Mr. Petrian's.
Let's stick with the date. So you knew in June 2017 that customers would not have the conditioning kit to condition the probe. You knew that, right?
Unless there was other companies left with stock, or if the company itself had some stock, but we could not provide it any longer.
Okay, and you knew the tip of the probe had to be conditioned to take the negative oil readings, correct?
To make it more efficient and effective in how quickly it reads, it is suggested that they condition the probe.
Okay. And knowing that, you didn't put that in the user manual in 2017, did you?
We put it in an insert card. in
You did not
2017.
put that in the user manual in 2017, did you?
It was not a need.
Okay. You didn't put it in 2018.
There was no need.
You didn't put it in 2019.
There was no need.
Okay. And you didn't put it in 2020.
No, there was no need, sir.
Okay. And you're saying there's no need because you don't want risks and dangers to be discussed in the user manual. You want someone to have to go somewhere else and look for it? Is that why it's no need?
When someone throws out that, they would lose that same information, but we put a chip card in every box since 2017, since we stopped putting, or stopped having the inventory available of the conditioning card.
Okay, and would I be correct that the recommendation you were giving to customers, Mr. Brown was giving to customers anyway, is that you should condition the probe for 4 to 5 days in vinegar to take negative work readings? 4 to 5 days, that's what he told customers, right?
Mr. Brown did not tell that to Real Water. He told various customers independently around the states different time frames.
And,
But the tip card states minimum 48 hours.
okay, but what Mr. Brown was telling people was 4 to 5 days, right?
He had told that to different customers in different states, but not Real Water.
And you didn't put that in the user manual?
I'm sorry,
You
didn't put
didn't
what?
put the recommendation to oxidize for 4 or 5 days in the user manual, correct?
It's in a tip card we insert.
No, it's not in the tip card. The tip card says 48 hours, does it not?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Does the tip card say 4 to 5 days or not?
No, it does not.
So neither the tip card or the user manual gives that instruction.
No, sir.
No, sir, I'm correct, or no? You agree with me that neither one of them has that instruction?
I agree with
Now, you made trips to Romania 100 times, I think you said?
you. Thereabouts.
So after 2017, when you knew that the conditioning manual or conditioning kit was off the market, you knew that these people were using this to make alkaline water. Did you have any discussions with anyone over there in Romania about changing this user manual?
No, I did not, because they were inserting a separate card for those customers that used it, and those customers that didn't use it, didn't need it.
So you didn't have any discussions about changing the user manual in 2017, right?
Correct.
How many times did you go to Romania in 2017, roughly?
I don't remember, but
4, 5, 10, what?
in 2017, I really don't remember. It may have been 0. It could have been 10.
Okay. 2018, you didn't talk to them about changing the user manual?
No, sir.
2019, didn't talk to them about doing it?
There was no need.
Okay. And here we said today, your position is still that there's no need, right?
That's
That's your position, right?
It's my position because we insert the information for those customers who need it into the box in North Carolina.
And how much would it cost to put the information in here or add another page to this? A penny, maybe?
I don't know.
Penny, nickel, what? Not much, right?
I don't know.
So cost was not the reason you didn't put it in here, right?
No, sir, because we're actually spending probably more by purchasing the tip card. We buy that in an outside vendor.
The tip card that says, that does not say 4 to 5 days. That's.
It says 48 hours, that's correct.
And also, the tip card doesn't say anything about the consequences of not conditioning the meter, that it potentially gives inconsistent readings. Tip card doesn't say anything about
Well,
that, right?
I don't know if the meter gives inconsistent readings. I wouldn't say it gives inconsistent readings.
You wouldn't say that.
You said that.
Okay, have you looked at the testimony of Patty Converse, the quality control director, about meter giving inconsistent readings?
I don't think she was qualified to really use the meter, and I
So-
can't
so-
speak to that.
So my question was,
Wait, objection, sustained, stricken.
Oh, okay.
have you looked at her testimony?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay, so you don't know one way or the other what the director of real water quality control said about whether the meter was inconsistent, right? You don't know what she said because you didn't look at the testimony.
There are many factors that can affect an ORP.
Focus on my question. You didn't look on her at her testimony, so you don't know what she said, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and you didn't look at Mr. Diego Mendigano. Do you know who Diego Mendigana is?
Not too familiar with him, sir.
Okay. He was the lead technician
Okay.
when they were making the real water. You didn't look at his testimony, right?
I don't recall looking at it.
So if I told you he said that the meter gave inconsistent readings 18 to 20 times, this is news to you?
It would, the term inconsistent, it would be news to me, so it's,
And you know 1/3 of the people that buy this meter are using it to take negative orb readings to make alkaline water, which is what Mr. Brown said. If you knew that, and you knew the meter was inconsistent, giving inconsistent readings to some people, shouldn't you put in the user manual that you have to oxidize it for 4 to 5 days? Shouldn't you put that in the user manual?
well, I didn't know, I don't agree with the 1/3, because I haven't done the research. I didn't know that there was inconsistent readings from anybody at Real Water, because they hadn't expressed it to us. And we have a tip card, the information's pretty clear.
Let's try to focus on my question.
And I'll sustain the objection to Mr. Odou.
Thank you, Ron. With regards to the user manual, Mr. Brown said that 1/3 of the people were using this meter to take negative orb readings to make alkaline water, right? He said
I
that.
don't agree with that, but he said it.
Well, first you said you didn't do the research, and now you say you don't agree with it?
Okay, it's because I haven't done the research, I don't agree. It's,
Okay. Let's assume he's right.
Okay.
that 1/3 of the people are using the meter to take negative work reads for alkaline water. Let's assume that. And let's assume that some people, you've seen the emails where they report they're getting inconsistent results when they're making ambient or alkaline water. You saw those, right?
You showed them to me.
Okay, so you know there's people out there in the field getting, or at least claiming to get inconsistent results.
At least claiming.
And the only two problems we've identified that could cause that are 10% of the probes are defective, according to Mr. Brown, or they're not oxidized properly. Those are the only two possibilities, right?
Temperature has an effect on ORP directly. If the customers are using it in an environment where the temperature is changing, they get and can get a different reading.
Okay, are you telling me these meters shouldn't be sold to Las Vegas because it's too hot here?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, temperature's not a problem here. Temperature's not a problem in Las Vegas for this meter, right?
I don't know that, but temperature has an effect on ORP.
Okay. Shouldn't you put that information for 4 to 5 days to oxidize, the potential that if you don't oxidize it will give inconsistent results? Shouldn't you put that in the user manual?
In my opinion, no. There's no requirement. There's no
There's
need.
no requirement.
No
okay?
need.
So unless someone makes you do it, you're not going to do it. That's
No,
right.
there's no need.
Well, you said no requirement. You said no requirement. That's what you said, right?
Mr. Kemp, I also said there's no need. I'm sorry.
You said no requirement.
But I also said there's no need.
After I questioned about no requirement, you said no requirement.
Is this a word game?
To you, I think it is a word game. Thank
No,
you,
it
sir.
isn't. I said no need.
Your Honor, the lawyer has no questions. Do you have something outside the presence before the witnesses release?
Okay.
Remember seeing the testimony of a person by the name of Blaine Jones, who was vice president of water.
I've seen some of the testimony, and I've read some of the testimony, yes, sir.
He said that he consistently, with an ORP meter, when he was making the concentrate, always got a reading of generally around -550 every time he used it.
Yes.
Every time he used it.
No, he's reading it.
I'm sorry. I'll withdraw it, okay? You don't think I need, if I use that box right there?
Sure, right.
Thank you.
It doesn't have a view.
Oh, you have it,
That's
okay.
not a box.
Sorry. Every time a customer would get this box, they would get this tip card right on top, right?
Yes, sir.
Real Water bought 160 of these meters, correct?
If you include Real Water of Nashville and Real Water of Nevada, there would be something like that.
Your Honor, we're only speaking of one company here. I don't know.
I don't know why we went there to Tennessee either, I agree.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Strike, Your Honor.
I'll sustain.
I'm sorry.
Strike
Let
that
me- let me-
response.
let me-
Wait. I'll strike that response.
Real Water, State Nevada,
Okay.
okay? Got 160 of these, correct?
Yes, thereabouts.
I'm doing an approximation.
Okay, it's an approximation.
But every time they got,
Yes,
Mr. Salvaggio, every time they got a meter, we get a tip card,
yes,
right on top,
yes, sir.
which means they got one in 2013. If they bought 10, they would have gotten 10.
Your Honor, I appreciate what Mr. Rasmussen is doing, but he's completely leading. He's answering his own question.
Let me ask.
I'll sustain, rephrase.
Would they, how many tip cards would Real Water get in 2013 if they bought 10 meters?
They would get 10. There would be one in each box if they bought 10 units in 2013.
I'm sorry, let me just object, Your Honor. The tip card didn't come in 2013.
Sorry, 2017.
Before 2017, and Teddy's right. So let's just
He's
move the date to
right.
2017.
Yes.
Before that, they used an oxidation kit, correct?
Yes, they did.
Do you know how many oxidation kits Real Water purchased?
No, I do not know the exact amount of number.
Can you give me an estimate?
I know they had at least 5, 6 maybe in Nevada area.
Do you know, okay, never mind. Do you know, never mind. Starting in 2017, if they bought 10 meters, would they've gotten 10 tip cards?
Yes,
On the tip card, would it have told Milwaukee that they needed to soak the probe in vinegar for 48 hours?
yes.
Are you aware that anyone from Water ever called and asked anyone at Milwaukee for some different amount of time than 48 hours?
No, I'm not aware.
On the side of the box, there was a warning that Mr. Parker went through with regard to safe laboratory practices and equated it to someone buying a Kangen machine for hall. Do you recall
Yes.
that testimony?
Yes, I do.
We went over the process for how a Kangen water machine works. Tap water comes out of your tap in your kitchen, goes into a machine.
Your Honor, he's still reading.
This is prior testimony that he's already given, I'm just reminding
That's
them.
it, yeah, okay.
You don't get to rephrase.
Rephrase. Do you recall the testimony about how the Kangen water machine works?
Yes, I do.
Can you describe for the jury how that works?
To my understanding, people purchase units, maybe online or whatever they do, retail perhaps. It's about the size of a toaster in some cases. They connect it to the sink. They turn the meter on, I guess, the water runs through it, and there's an output that they fill a container with after it's processed.
When you say container, could that be a cup?
It could be a cup, it could be a bottle.
Does the Kangen water machine use anything but tap water in order to negatively ionize the water?
It's using tap water, correct?
Okay. Do I need to have a laboratory in order to drink water from my tap?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So this warning would not be needed for someone who was drinking
Your Honor,
tap water.
again, read.
I'll sustain.
Do you believe that a person drinking tap water needs something besides the tap water to drink tap water?
No, no. So somebody
All the
drinking
questions
tap
that I
water.
have.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is that it? Your Honor, we do have questions now, and you know you want to approach.
Thank you. Oh, we have some questions as
Yes,
well.
we do. Before we release the witness, we have questions.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to bash your chair again. Sorry about that.
You know, I best you too, with that chair. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
That's a good point.
Oh, absolutely. If you want. I think I've already given you copies, all except for one. Anyway. Not a-
None of those, but that's okay.
Yes, you have, you're correct, Your Honor, you have.
You have.
It's not those.
All right, anyway, and counsel, thank you for your assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, we had to review the questions. I didn't remember I told you about the process, and then we'll go to lunch. But anyway, we have a couple of questions from some of the panel members. Unfortunately, we didn't ask all, and there's just reasons. I think you understand that. And just because we don't ask a question doesn't mean it's not a good question. There might be legal reasons for it. But, sir, we have the first question from juror number 3. Quote, is there any storing case that, if not included in the box, that can be purchased to protect from the elements? Sir,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's another question for you. Let me ask it again. You gotta listen. And this is from the jury, panel member number 3. Is there a storing case that, if not included in the box, that can be purchased to protect from the elements.
Yes, we offer cases. They're large plastic cases, made of hard plastic. One can order them. They're about $30 list price. It fits the meter. It fits the electrode inside. It has 2 clamps, and it has a carrying handle too.
Thank you, sir. I have another question from juror number 3. We asked 2, we're not going to ask 2, we're going to ask the first 2. First question, any warning labels or tags on the ORP meter?
Okay, so on the ORP meter, there is no warning tag or label.
And next question from Ms. Why isn't the information on the tip card not on the product manual? And it continues, in fear users will not recognize such as a tip card because it is not specified tip in the manual to carry a tip card, and it says tip to get users' attention. You understand that?
Okay, I think I understood the question. Okay, so we put the tip card with bold red warning underlined on the very top saying instructions for negative ORP. Red is usually alert. We do some highlighting inside. We explain to put in 2.5 vinegar, 2.5 pH vinegar for about 48 hours minimum. And then we explain on the bottom to replace the probe about every 10 to 12 months. We don't insert it into the actual manual. If somebody loses, if it were there and somebody lost the manual, it would be the same thing as not having an instruction manual. So the insert of the card is, we've learned, is just as effective as being in the actual, quote, user manual. And we haven't had, that I can recall, people give us negative feedback about that.
All right, and here's the last question from juror number 9. Ms. Quote, was the tip card inserted in all MW500 packaging, or was it only for the customers that needed it per your testimony?
Okay, good question. Since 2017, thereabouts, maybe midpoint, it was inserted in every in every meter that we put into inventory, which shipped out to the customer from there. So it was 1 tip card per meter.
All right. Any follow-up, counsel?
No, yeah.
We'll pass, Sean.
No, Your Honor.
Further on. Okay, sir, you're released.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time for lunch. You know, and, anyway. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or to rewatch or listen to the report or commentary on the trial by any persons connected to this case, by any medium of information, including without limitations, newspaper, television, radio. Remember the social media prohibition, and last but not least, you can perform and express any opinion on the ultimate outcome in this case until it's time for deliberation. Okay, and what do you think? 105, 107 now, 215?
215, Your Honor. All rise for the departure of the jury. Jury is clear. Please take your seat.
All right. Anything else we need to address right now?
No, Your Honor.
Well, Your Honor, just to be clear, after lunch, I know we have limited time.
We do, and I have a witness that must go on, but we have a lot of the other stuff. The problem is that we do the deposition testimony. So I'm trying to figure out which one I'll do first, the witness or that. But we figured out all of the different things with regard to the deposition testimony that's going to be given by Casey Aiken and Blaine Jones.
Oh, yeah. No, we're going through it still, but Who's the witness who's gonna be this afternoon?
Dr. Fortenbaugh is the one that must go on because he's only here for a limited amount of time.
So by the time we get back from lunch, it's gonna be an hour and a half, because the jury has to leave.
So I may just be able to put him on.
It sounds like to me, he must go on.
Try to get on.
Okay.
It sounds like to me, he has to go on.
2:15, Your Honor?
Yeah, I mean, he has to go on, right?
Just for your honor.
I did my reconnect for 2 minutes, 41 seconds.
3 minutes, 51 seconds.
Was it 51? Okay. See, I saw that.
Shaving.
It was impressive, man. We will agree.
We'll agree to the impressiveness, yes, Your Honor.
All right, and the only reason I just pointed that out, because he wants to make sure that if he can testify, that he has to. Right, so he has to go on. I mean, depositions can be, assuming a video deposition, we can show those anytime.
We still need to clean those up, so that's what
Your Honor, that's true. We may only have one witness.
All right, and that's
try
why.
to hurt your liver.
We are, here's my point, we have one other issue Tori needs to address.
Mr. Parker, when you moved to admit Hannah's 757, 757 is one of your exhibits. Hannah's begins in the 7,000 range, so what is
It's
the
plaintiff
exact?
757.
Is it 7.5?
It's 757.
No, 7.97.
No,
That doesn't,
no,
that doesn't
the interrogatory is 757.
Oh.
is it actually 7757 or?
No, just
705?
757. 757, 757.
But if it's one of Hannah's.
No,
that doesn't
plaintiff,
matter.
plaintiff,
Okay,
plaintiff. I apologize for it.
thank you.
Yeah, plaintiff 757. And we redacted it to take out the insurance information.
So is it different than the electronic version?
I believe so, and I thought we gave that to you.
Yeah, we provided one to you.
We
I
provided,
don't have it.
we can give you another copy.
That would be great.
Can you print out
It
another
it was
copy?
like days ago, so,
Yeah,
and
that's,
then
we'll print out.
I'll print out another one.
Yeah, we'll give you another one. That's mine. That's the,
Okay, please be seated, thank you. Got the red trucks.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Let's go ahead and set forth our appearances.
Teddy Parker, Eric Pepperman, and Will Kemp on behalf of plaintiff, John.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Odou and David Kaufman on behalf of the real water entities.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ryan Flanagan, Scott Rasmussen, on behalf of Hanna Instruments.
Rob Robbins for Milwaukee Instruments.
And I just have one question. As far as the day is concerned, how much longer do you think we have on the testimony perspective?
So I know that we're supposed to be out of here at 3:45, and I know that doesn't answer the question, so I will probably try to have this particular witness done with my part of it done in a half an hour, depending on the answers.
Okay, I understand. I do.
I think Mr. Kemp is taking him across, unless he passes the torch, and I'll be more than happy to do the cross.
And the only reason I asked that, we do have one panel member, the marshal reminded me that has a doctor's appointment
Yes,
at 4:30, right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
so we're leaving at 3:40? Right.
In order to make sure that he has enough.
Time to get to his location?
Yes.
Well, I think part of it is it takes time to get to his car,
Right.
right? And that's 10, 15 minutes, then the drive there. And so I think that's part of it. But we'll do the best we can.
So if I take a half an hour, that's 3 o'clock, and that would give 30 minutes approximately for the cross-examination. And I don't anticipate the cross will be
No,
as long as that.
No, you keep him to his report, and we'll make sure we keep him to his report.
I'm sure you will, Ted.
All right,
Dr. Fortenbaugh is our warnings expert,
I understand.
so maybe he's not relevant, I don't know.
Well, I think he goes to the core of the products that are really this year, right?
Yes.
Hopefully that's okay.
We'll see, Your Honor.
We'll see, because maybe he doesn't.
He'll testify as to what's in his room.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, all right,
Including his background.
yes.
What's his name?
Dr. David Fortenbaugh, Fortenbaughh.
And I didn't get that witness.
So,
Here's my next question. After him, how many more witnesses do we have?
he said
We
he-
have 3.
Okay.
But they're all video, I think.
No,
4.
well, there's one there. But 3 witnesses, one has 2 volumes, and then 1 live witness.
Okay, so, and how long is the deposition?
One is 50, one is 50, one is, so there's,
So clearly, tomorrow we'll rest. Is that correct? Remaining defendants?
On the defense side, yes.
I think so.
Everybody ready for the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
All rise for the jury.
And the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I hope you enjoyed the lunch, right? Okay, and it's my understanding, we're going to continue with the defense case. And I'm going to call your next witness, is that correct? Sir.
Yes, Your Honor. Hanna Instruments calls Dr. David Fortenbaugh.
Dr. Please be cautious as you step upstairs. Stand and face Madam Clerk, raise your right hand, please, sir.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God?
Yes,
May I have you state and spell your name for the record?
sure. My name is David Fortenbaugh, D-A-V-I-D, F-O-R-T-E-N-B-A-U-G-H.
Thank you.
Please have a seat. Be cautious that chair's on hold.
Dr. Fortenbaugh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Appreciate you coming here. We'll try to get you done today so that we can get you back to where you need to be tonight. Dr. Fortenbaugh, can you give me some of your background as you're going to be testifying today as an expert witness? Can you start by, where did you go to high school?
Went to high school in Rocky River, Ohio. It's a small town just outside Cleveland, Cleveland, Ohio.
And at some point, did you go to college?
I did. So I played baseball growing up, and I was fortunate enough to be kind of good at baseball, and I started getting recruited to go to different schools, and I ended up going to Yale University. And so I played baseball and went and studied biomedical engineering at Yale.
And you testified before in trials here in the United States?
I have.
And where did you get your degree at Yale University?
In 2003 from the biomedical engineering department at Yale.
And that's a Bachelor's of Science?
Bachelor of Science, yes.
And then after that, you went on and got a master's degree?
Correct. So then after 18 years in Ohio and 4 years in Connecticut being cold all the time, I wanted a little change of scenery, so I went to try to find some graduate school where it's a little bit warmer. So I went to a pretty small school in the Miami area called Barry University. And I was really interested in biomechanics, so I studied biomechanics, got a master's degree in movement science from there.
Going back just a little bit, can you tell the jury what biomedical engineering is?
Sure. So at least at Yale, there were 3 different tracks that were involved for biomedical engineering. One was focused on biotechnology, basically pharmaceuticals and drug delivery systems. Pfizer's like 20 minutes down the road from Yale, so that was a thing. A lot of people went in to go to medical school, they followed that track. Then there was another track for medical imaging, so kind of like how to do x-rays and MRIs and CT scanners, stuff like that. Then there's a third track that's biomechanics, and that's really more like how does your body work as a machine, so forces and torques applied to your body, and how does spinal degeneration happen, and what kind of compressive loading is there on your spine and stuff like that.
Okay. And then you went to Barry University outside of Miami. You got a master's degree in 2005 in movement science or biomechanics specialization.
Yeah.
Can you explain to the jury what that is?
Sure. So again, there's a few different tracks, just like at Yale, at Barry, from movement science. So there's some like exercise physiology kind of stuff or exercise science classes. There's even some sports psychology stuff. But then again, I follow biomechanics. Again, I like sports a lot, so I was trying to figure out how can I still be involved in sports even if I'm not good enough to play them. So one way is to kind of study how the body moves in sports applications. So they had an opportunity for me to study sports, so I ended up writing my master's thesis on left-handed baseball pitchers and their pickoff moves to first base, the mechanics involved in that.
Okay. After that, you went on to get your PhD, a doctorate, right? And that was in 2011 at the University of Miami, correct?
Correct.
And that is in the field of ergonomics?
Yes, so it was through the Department of Industrial Engineering, but there was a specific track for ergonomics. And ergonomics and human factors are like two sister fields. They both really focus on how do people interact with products and with their environment. Ergonomics is a little bit more on the engineering side. So it's more like the physical design of the world. So you might hear about an ergonomically designed chair, an ergonomically designed pen. And then human factors is a little bit more on the psychology or the cognitive side. So it's more like things like when you're driving, perception reaction time, did I hit the brake or the gas? Or lighting issues, or things like warnings and instructions. So they're really interrelated. There's a human factors and ergonomics society I'm a member of. So they really work together pretty hand in hand.
And what other societies do you, or organizations do you belong to, like professional organizations?
Sure, so there's a few. Two of them are what's called ASTM and ANSI or ANSI. They're voluntary safety standards committees that, if you look at a lot of products, it'll say, ASTM, blah, blah, blah standard. And it's a way for manufacturers and other interested parties to get together. I mean, anybody in this room can, if they're really interested, can get involved in ASTM standards to help make sure that the products are being made for safety. They have it for everything, for, the carpeting on the floor, this chair, whatever. So it's a really good way to help understand how products are being made and how services are being done in a safe way.
Okay. Do you know what ASTM stands for?
It's the American Society for Testing and Materials, and they added international on the end because it's now an international thing. But
Say it a little bit more slowly for the jury.
Sure. It's the American Society for Testing and Materials.
That's down to the very bottom here?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the other one was ANSI, which I know, but can you tell the jury what ANSI stands for?
Sure. It's the American National Standards Institute.
And they're in the business of putting standards together in the industry.
Correct.
Okay, that includes safety, warnings, or just warnings, or instructions for. Bless you. Didn't see it came from. Things like that.
Yes. So there's a specific set of standards that talks about more like the formatting of how a warning label might look, or how a user manual might be. And then there are, in a lot of other standards, like the standard for ladders, that will be focused more on the content about, gotta have 4 points on the ground on a step ladder, gotta have a 75-degree angle. It will focus more on the content that should be in an instruction. So there are a lot of safety standards that are devoted to warning and instruction.
What is the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
So it's a government body that has been around since the 1970s, I think, working to make sure that there are safe products in the marketplace. If you ever hear about a product being recalled, that's because the CPSC got involved and they have to deal with the federal government on some issue with the product.
Okay. Up here on the screen for the jury, we've got 3 other bullet points. Just want to go over. You've been a consultant and project manager for projects related to product liability, premises safety, and accident reconstruction. Is that correct?
Correct.
You've also done forensic investigation of 700 plus accidents, including 150 plus falls following a slip, trip, or misstep. Is that correct?
The numbers have gone up a little bit more now. Old data.
Sorry about that. I'm just taking from what was provided earlier in this case. You've also examined issues of workplace safety and warnings and instructions. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then warnings and instructions, would that be on different products?
Yeah, so it's typically on consumer products, but there's also like in a facility, like I've done some work with water slides, so like the sign you might see before you get on to go on the water slide, stuff like that. So it's generally consumer products, but it can be more in an industrial setting or facility signage as well.
Okay. So there's what we call non-disclosure agreements. You know what those are?
I do.
So you've worked for various companies after you got out of getting your PhD, and maybe even before then, in which there's a non-disclosure agreement that says, I can't tell everyone the name of the company that I work for, because that would violate the non-disclosure agreement.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
But here are some of the products that I've been involved with as far as warnings and instructions and things like that. Can you tell the jury what sort of products you've worked with?
Sure. So I've worked on a number of different ones and still do today. I got an email this morning about something, again, related to water slides. I've done a number of things with those. Motorcycles and motorcycle helmets, golf cars, lawnmowers. Those are some of the ones that jump to mind.
Okay, anything else?
Recently had a few proposals out looking at something that measures the conductivity of some metal samples, so some kind of testing equipment for the conductivity properties, but related to the warnings and instructions that go with those products.
Right, so you're not a designer of devices, correct?
Well,
I
no.
should back that up. For biomechanical stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
So you tell us.
Right, so warnings and instructions are part of the design process. You know, I can't make a thing be completely safe. Just like a seatbelt, you know, you got to put it on. I don't know how to do it. I know they had that one design where like put the seatbelt on for you, but nobody liked that, so we stopped doing it. But warnings and instructions are a part of the design process. So while it's not necessarily physically designing the product, it is an important part of the design process.
Have you worked at a company that does the manufacturing of a particular product?
No.
Okay. With that in mind, we've got a few more things to just go over. Again, saying the same thing that's up there on the screen. It says biochemical accident reconstruction, correct?
That's what it says, correct.
And have you done anything like that?
Well, there's maybe a couple letters missing or in the wrong word. Biomechanical accident reconstruction. So, you saw a slide before about slip, trip, and fall. So, it's trying to understand that process of what were the mechanics involved. How did the person kind of go forward, and that's, you know, a little bit more indicative of a trip and fall versus a slip and fall. You might slide on your heel and you land backwards. So I say I tripped and I landed on the back of my head. Well, something's not really adding up there. I think maybe you tripped instead of slipped. Understand stuff like that.
Good. All right. And you were retained by Hanna Instruments on this particular case to review the instructions, the tip card, as we're calling it, that went in with the insert for the Milwaukee MW 500 meter.
Correct.
And then the labeling was on the box as well.
Correct.
Okay. And you evaluated all those things?
Yes.
You also reviewed all of the information that was provided to you from various depositions, correct?
Yeah.
And depositions that you reviewed would have been depositions that were taken in this case of various witnesses, many of whom the jury has seen, but or will see. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you review the depositions of Casey Aiken?
Yes.
Do you know who Casey Aiken is?
Generally, yes.
Do you know who he claimed to be in this case?
Yeah, he was he's a former lead technician for Real Water. I think he started out in the warehouse and then various jobs at Real Water.
Thank you. Do you know who Blaine Jones is, or is?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury who that is?
Exactly his title, I think he was some kind of vice president or something for Real Water.
And did you review the depositions of Anthony Brown?
Anthony Brown, I don't recall that one.
Okay. How about Diego Mendigana?
Again, I heard the name, but I don't think I reviewed his deposition.
How about Mr. Jeff Desitel?
I remember the name, but I'm not sure if I reviewed it.
Okay. These are all, if I refresh your recollection, these may have been employees of Real Water. Would that help refresh your recollection?
Perhaps. Again, I think I've seen the names, but whether I reviewed their testimony, I don't remember.
Okay. Your retention had to do with the warnings, correct?
Yeah, the warnings and instructions provided with the.
And so you were not, per se, evaluating, bless you, the processes that Real Water used as far as what the chemicals were that were going to be put into the Real Water product.
Right, that wasn't part of my analysis.
Okay. You weren't interested in where the locations of Real Water were, correct?
No.
You're limited really to just the warnings, instructions that were given to, in this case, one buyer of the MW500 meters, correct?
Yeah, I was looking at how Real Water was using the MW5.
Okay. And that's Real Water only, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll reach for that, the Real Water meters. This has already been admitted into evidence. This is Plaintiffs Exhibit 374-0002. Dr. Fortenbaugh, have you seen a box like this as a part of your investigation?
I've seen quite a few pictures of them, yes.
Okay. You did not go out to the Henderson facility to look at that location, correct?
Yeah, I've never been there.
Okay. So you've had an opportunity to look at the warnings that go on this box?
Yes.
Okay. You also looked at the tip card. I have one of these here. If we could get that tip card up on the screen, Mark. That's also been admitted into evidence as Exhibit 3. What?
187.
187, sorry. You've seen this tip card?
Yes.
Okay. You've also seen the instructions that come with this particular meter, correct?
Right, the user manual, yep.
Yep. You've used all of these, correct? Or you've reviewed them?
Yeah, I've reviewed them, yes.
My mistake, the way I phrased that. Your Honor, if I can approach?
Yes, sir.
Up in the very top here, does that, what's the words that it says?
It's a user manual.
So, to someone buying this particular product, they would understand that would be the user manual on how to use this product, correct?
Yep.
Did you have an opportunity to review the trial testimony of Dr. Motley?
I did.
Did you understand who Dr. Motley was?
Yes.
Do you understand who retained him?
Yes, that is I understand he was retained by a plaintiff's case.
And you did a rebuttal report, an expert report relative to his conclusions, correct?
Correct.
In his trial testimony, he told the jury under questions that the meter itself, in his opinion, was not inherently dangerous. Do you agree with Dr. Motley on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's minimal risk associated with the use of the meter.
Did you understand from your review of the instructions, the tip card and the warnings, What does an ORP meter do? Were you able to understand that?
Yeah.
What does it do?
It measures the electric potential.
Yeah.
Sorry, it measures the electric potential of the water, so it's measuring some kind of voltage, just like a voltmeter, but for, in this case, a solution, some kind of water or other liquid.
Okay. You've never used an ORP meter, correct?
I do not.
When you look at that meter in your field, you're doing an evaluation. What is it that you would say if it's not inherently dangerous, what safety factors, if any, are you going to be having to evaluate?
So, you know, as part of review, you're going to want to look and see, looking for different types of hazards. There could be a mechanical or electrical or chemical hazards. And you might want to see, are there any safety standards, like an ASTM or ANSI standards, something like that, that talk about how these products should be or how they should function. Another good way to kind of benchmark things is to look at other manufacturers that make a similar product and see, hey, are we kind of making the same thing here or making something different? So that's all kind of goes into the analysis of how this product works.
And in your analysis, did you find anything about this product that would suggest that there was something there that needed to have a safety type warning given to people, to consumers?
No, like I said, there's minimal risk associated with the product, and on the 4 or 5 or whatever other ones that I looked at, there's no product warning labels or instruction.
Okay. And do you believe there needs to be any?
No.
All right, moving on, then let's go to the actual instructions. I can take that back from you if it's in your way. No, not that, no, neither.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing this, it's not inherently dangerous, that's what we've concluded, correct?
Right.
Okay. If a product is not inherently dangerous, what warnings, if any, are required if you know of anything like ASTMs or things like that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Yeah.